welcome to another episode of the Doomloop Dispatch, the news show that covers the worst parts of the San Francisco Bay Area. I am your host, Kevin L. Jones, and with me whenever possible,
D. Scott Miller. How's it going, folks?
Yeah. How's it going? The year is wrapping up. We'll have to talk after this about seeing if we can get in a, end of the year show. But
yeah, that's a good idea, man.
Totally. Yeah. Especially maybe we could talk about something positive again.
Good luck with that. Shit, man.
I know. Hence, that's leading us to today's episode. We're just going to do a news brief because so much is going on. There's so much to talk about. And so many stories are breaking. Like even just today, just now, we just had the hotel striker strike, and as San Francisco's hotel strike was seriously, you had 500 workers walking up. I've seen as many as 2,500 workers striking.
Yeah.
And the good news is that was it the Marriott and the Hilton, the Hyatt, I think they all kind of just they just agreed to the terms and ended the strike. Because
that's great.
Yeah, I know.
That's
especially great. I bet they also too can't fight off as bad as they used to be able to, because they have no money with the going up against like Airbnb and stuff like that,
Yeah, the exact opposite just happened in New York. Did you hear about the Amazon strike?
Yes, yeah.
The exact opposite. Like the cops came and busted up the entire strike, like Pinkerton style.
Yep.
Which is like, we can expect probably see more of that, especially because Adams isn't really a Democrat, right? Adams is a Republican in disguise. And so like sending out the Pinkertons is pretty much solidifies his anti-labor positions. I'm glad to hear that San Francisco did better.
Yes. Yeah, I know. We're still kind of holding on to that hope that we're not going back all the way to the Gilded Age.
Hold on to that, you guys.
I know, really. I mean, seriously, it's getting so bad, especially, literally now Elon Musk is being so open about being able to tell Trump and his cronies what to do. I mean, it's truly like the early 1900s, 100 years later. It's so ridiculous.
It's crazy, man.
I know, it's so crazy. But at least we're showing labor still has power. Hopefully we'll get something like we had with the 1917 general strike. I want to see another general strike, even though, hopefully we won't have anyone lose their lives over it, but we need to have that kind of solidarity amongst the working class, Right. Yeah, because that's the only way we're going to show we have power.
Well, to me, I just saw this. I shared it on Twitter, but this guy was talking about you expected when fascism would come into America would be like these big baddies, like really threatening type people, and instead we got a bunch of dweebs. We got the people who brought tech in. He said we have a diaper wearing geriatric and a bunch of dweebs, and. Those are the guys that are bringing in fascism. It's not jackbooted thugs. It's a bunch of nerds, and a part of me kind of like feels like, okay, they're not the world beaters that they think they are, but even more than that, you have all the money in the world. You already had most of the institutional power, right? So this gaping maw of nothingness that's inside of you is not going to be filled with more money or more power because you already have all of that. Yep. So there's something else inside of you that's a part of this gaping maw. You're a billionaire. All you had to do was just sit there and be a fucking billionaire. You don't have to do anything, right? And you could go and break all the laws. You're already a billionaire. Everybody's going to look the other way, right? So I think there's a psychological component in these guys that is probably going to hinder them as they try to be world beaters, because they ultimately are not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Ultimately, you guys aren't world beaters. Like, each one of you inherited your power. You inherited your money, right? Like, none of you guys started from scratch. You've never had to struggle for anything, right? So the thing is like, okay, what is the emptiness you're trying to fill, psychologically speaking? What's this thing about you always going to be a dweeb? And the thing is that dweebishness is going to really fuck with you trying to wield power because you're a dweeb.
Yes.
Because you're a fucking dweeb. Anyway,
no, it's true though.
Especially
like you look at somebody like Gary Tan, you're like, You know, like, dude, you're not threatened to anybody. Like,
Nobody.
Truly, if you didn't have money, people would laugh at you.
And
know?
the same thing's true with Musk, and the same thing's true with Thiel, and the same thing's true with Sachs. I mean, they're all like, if you saw this guy sitting in a club someplace or a bar, right? The last thing you would think, oh God, I got to look out for that guy. That guy looks trouble. That guy looks like trouble. I need to stay away from that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, at least the Nazis and Mussolini had the balls to at least be like threatening looking characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. Mussolini with the stance.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. Like,
and even
dude.
Teeny tiny little Hitler knew how to yell at people. Jesus Christ. These guys. These guys, man. Okay. Yeah,
well, no, it's so crazy too. I mean, especially too. It's not just hubris. You know, it's they've also talked about, like, I remember the first Trump when who was his financial advisor? One of these guys, you know, they all talk about how there's the big race, you know, the big competition. Truly, everyone does want to be the richest person in the world, and they really are fighting to be that way, and which is so stupid, you know, like so much pain caused by these idiots doing this crap, you know. But then dude, Trump's election did help Musk big time. I think they grew. I mean,
$260 billion. He actually grew by $260 billion.
How that fast too is so insane. But
it's probably. I was thinking it's probably mostly just the fact that he's going to get these contracts. I mean, so it's potentiality of $260 billion because he's going to get all the defense contracts. Yeah. I mean, he's sitting right next to the guy. He says, give that to me, give that to me, give that to him, give that to him. Right. So that $260 billion is probably the potential he's about to earn from the American government through subsidies, aka welfare. This motherfucker is the biggest welfare queen in America.
Yep. And that's the thing too. Yeah. He's probably getting NASA's budget for SpaceX, which again just lost another rocket. They always lose their rockets, but now we're going to be paying for his stupid space travel boner. But also on top of that, all these guys want to get into military contracts.
That's right.
Palantir, that guy, Jack Karp, I believe his name is definitely Karp. I forgot the first name, but you hear him. He went on this rant recently about how America stays strong. America is strongest when everyone else is scared of it. And that's the kind of, and it's like, I don't want that guy's a leader. I don't respect that view, but they want to do that. They're saying that because they want to push this narrative that we got to always be the most armed, the most lethal army in the world, which, Kamala, why did he use that? You know, like, why do you have to pitch that? But at that same time, because they'll get those contracts, and it's almost like I wonder if they're going to be going up against the old money. You know, the Grutham Northam, and like all the other like old
Lockheed
militaries.
Martin.
That's
Electric.
the fight I want to see. That's the King Kong versus Godzilla. You know, let them fight.
And you know, and that's the funny thing is, like, I do think that's going to be another element that we're not ever going to see in the foreground, but it's going to be constantly playing out in the background. The old money and the new money are not really going to be getting along on this thing. I'm sorry. There's no way that you're going to be able to uproot Lockheed Martin. You're not going to be able to uproot General Electric. Like, you're going to have to figure out a way to coexist with them. And that's not what your guys' game plan is. Your game plan is to take the whole thing. Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot of things are going to be happening in the background that we're not going to do anything about, but it's going to get ugly. And it's going to get ugly. And these guys don't even know. You don't know about the psyops these old defense contractors have. You have no idea. You don't want to fuck with Blackwater, and you don't want Blackwater to fuck with you. You just don't. And those guys aren't even the most dangerous. Those are the guys that we know about.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. What about the guys we don't?
Exactly.
Like the guys in Honduras right now doing some shit we don't know anything about, and we don't want to know.
Yeah.
We don't want to know.
I know, but then we're still seeing whistleblowers get killed or suicide.
Suicide. They Boeing, right? Anyway.
Oh my god! And what was the other one? That it was not ChatGPT, but another AI company.
Yeah, it was AI. It was actually it was AI.
Yeah. Oh my god. Jesus Christ! How is this shit happening?
They say he suicided. But another person said to me, what's really interesting is that in tech, they do a thing where they do try to encourage whistleblowers to commit suicide. And that goes all the way back to Martin Luther King. The FBI tried to convince King to commit suicide. So there are tactics that you use, like, we're going to make you absolutely bereft. We're going to take everything away from you. We're going to ruin your reputation. We're going to make it so your kids can't even go to school. Like, why don't you just off it?
Yep.
Why don't you end it now instead of making it harder for everybody? You know what I mean? Because we're still going to win. You know what I mean? But we're going to take you down with us, right? We're going to so
we're going to set an example.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, hell, man, that kind of money coming after you, I wouldn't doubt that kind of thing could happen. Let's get back home. Let's go back home.
Okay, yeah. Well, I did want to bring up one thing, though, too. Kind of, while they will come after you and they're bad, and I think a great example of that is Vincent Hallinan's family. Now, Vincent Hallinan was a prominent defense lawyer in the Bay Area. I mean, he was a guy that took on some intense cases and won. The big one was Harry Bridges, the guy that started the Longshoremen's Union. He's the one that led to the general strike. First the Longshoremen's strike that led to the general strike. He was a very powerful figure, and everyone went after him, and anyone associated with them went after him. And the Hallinans were a part of that. Even they knew what they were signing up for. Mm-hmm. And what happened to them was terrible. I mean, not only were they getting, hammers and sickles painted on their houses, on their driveways, their kids were constantly bullied. And not by other kids, by adults.
Right.
Famously, his oldest son, Patrick, was caught by 3 Marines who were off duty, and they beat him so bad they gave him a compound fracture. Jesus. They broke his arm, and he was only 16. Jesus. 16 years old. But you know what? You know what he did? You know what the family did in response? Did they cower? Did they give up? No. They all got boxing lessons and from a championship boxer, and they were all so good that if anyone came to them, they beat the living crap out of them. Now, his second oldest son was Terrence Hallinan, who became SFDA and a supervisor. He was also known as KO. Why is that? Because he kicked the crap out of anybody that came after him for being a liberal. Anybody. I mean, he was actually... he tried to become a freedom rider. He wanted to join the freedom bus, but they wouldn't let him because he started fights at a peace march.
Do you want a funny story? My parents actually did March with King, and they went to Alabama State during they actually are
wow.
Yeah, my parents actually are part of the civil rights movement, and when they were organizing for the diners, my dad said he couldn't go, and they said, "Why not?" He said, "I'm not letting no cracker touch me like that without doing something about it." My dad did not have it in him. He did not have it in him. He said, "No, there's absolutely no way."
Oh my God! Yeah, especially you saw how they treated him.
Yeah,
throwing him off the benches and stuff.
And at the time, my dad was an amateur boxer and stuff, and he just really did not. He was just like, "No, there's absolutely no way I'm gonna let some white boy put his hands on me without doing something about it."
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, no, you can't come with this one. You can't come with us.
Totally. And I mean, so that's something to remember. You don't have to kowtow when they come at you. You can fight back,
But,
especially. Go on.
Man, because I was thinking about this thing that Trump is doing right now with Penny, right? Like the whole thing is what happened with Penny was that Penny was unable to fight back, and he's a hero now. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, and now the exact opposite is true when it came to Trayvon Martin. Yeah. Trayvon Martin fought back, and that's why he's dead. Right. Eric Garner fought back, and that's why he's dead. Yep. Right. Like a whole lot of people fought back, and they died. Yeah. But they didn't die like Penny, and they didn't die like Floyd. Right. And that's the reason why they hold up the people who take care of the people who don't fight back. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right, like the heroes are actually the people that don't fight back. They always say, "Well, Penny, he strangled the guy. The guy didn't even know he was going to be there until he showed up and just killed him. It's like a sneak attack." Yeah, right. So he's a hero for doing that. Or you bring a gun to a skateboard fight. What the fuck is that? So once again, it was cowardly acts, but no. So when the person actually fights back, even if they die, you don't hear these people made into heroes. Zimmerman is never considered a hero. He was never considered a hero. He was the guy that got away with it, right? But he was never the hero,
Nope.
You know what I mean? And so, I mean, I think a major part is that people need to remember that. Like, you have to fight back, because if you don't fight back, you're dead either anyway.
Yep.
Like the way I feel about it is like, if you're going to take me to the camps, you're going to have to kill me on the way to the camps.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm not going to just be like, okay, I'll survive the camp. I don't think I will.
Nope.
Right. But I think my feeling would be, okay, well, if I'm going to the camp, I'll die there, or I'll die fighting before they drag me to the camps. Yep. But I'm not going to volunteer my own death. You know what I mean? I'm not going to voluntarily die. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do
fight
that.
until the end.
Till the end.
Too. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole thing, you know. Yeah, they do hold up Daniel Perry as a hero, but Luigi Mangione, I mean, he's surrounded by cops on his perp walk. You know, they're definitely making an example of him.
They had an entire precinct walking around with this guy. He's strapped up like goddamn Hannibal Lecter or some shit. Like, what do you think he's gonna do?
Yep.
Do you think he's gonna like pull out another like ghost gun? Like, he's gonna pull the ghost gun out on you guys.
He might still have his McDonald's fries.
Yeah. Oh man.
His toy.
Yeah, exactly. It's so crazy that oh god, this guy, he's a rabbit. He's rabid, I tell you. He totally did this organized thing. I mean, he's not.
It's just all about the example. But you know, speaking of fighting back on your way out, on your way to the camps, we got to talk about the 2 reports that Dean Preston commissioned.
Oh, goodness,
basically, he tried to do it before, you know, when he was in his campaign, and it probably would have helped his campaign. But for some reason, the city didn't put him out until after he lost. How does that work? The first one, which I love, is the city audit. So the police overtime audit is so important. I'm actually going to share this screen because I think it's so interesting. So basically, this story found that the police budget is totally overinflated, and it's because of the overtime. So it's like basically what we've been saying all along. Boom, the proof is here. We have the report. It's scathing.
Yes, it is.
Scathing, especially because they talk about how the cops are in a way breaking the law, you know, or at least like being super shady with overtime.
Yeah,
you know.
And I'm glad that Tim Redmond broke the story too. Tim's one of my former bosses, and I'm really glad that he's still out there doing the work.
Well, yeah, because there's also the SF Standard did it, but the SF Standard is now gone behind a paywall. Funny.
Yeah, after the election. Yeah, and the other thing I think was interesting about the story is that it's not just double dipping. It's not just overtime. These guys are actually working for private security firms. They're taking time off, allowing their friends to get paid overtime while they take private contracts as security. So it's kind of like, it is like what we've always said, but it's unlike here in Oakland, where we have this budget crisis, and the budget crisis is forcing us to actually defund the police. But in a lot of ways, they defund themselves with this overtime. Right. And it looks like the same thing's about to happen here in San Francisco, but it's a dirty game. It's dirty.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, especially everyone wants to talk about how the government can't run. This is why the government can't run, because the police are untouchable. There's no, I mean, that's why they went after Chesa Boudin, is because he was going to hold cops accountable. Same thing with Pamela Price. Anytime you go like, I don't think I should give a blank check to the cops, they're like, oh, is that true? We need a recall. No one can do any work, you know, because they think the only thing that matters is policing, or at least, you know, the powers that be, the rich. Because as we've seen today with the Amazon strike and everything else, it's so much more about protecting property. It's so, I mean, what did you hear from the right after during the Floyd protests? It wasn't like, you know, the people on the right were like, oh yeah, that is sad. Oh God, that was terrible. It was, look how they're burning down our buildings. Look how they're destroying businesses. Completely like, you know. Even though
it was actually them doing those things. I think that like people don't seem to understand that, like, what it's not. People say police state. They don't really understand what police state is. I remember one time I was in the back of a squad car. I'm not going to get too into detail about that. And I was really like pissed because like, it was just another protest. And I was like, you guys, like, you act as if we don't know that you all live in Visitation Valley.
Yep.
And the cop looked at me. He looked like he wanted to punch me in my fucking face. Because the thing is, like, Visitation Valley is where all the cops live, and Pleasanton is where the cops all live here. And people have to understand this is a generational thing. This is not some people just coming in off the street and being, I want to be a cop. Their father's cop was a cop. Their father's father was a cop. So that's guap. The whole situation was her mom was a dispatcher. She was a cop.
Yes.
Right. So I mean,
oh my God.
So this is a generational thing. This is not something that's actually an institutional thing. People are trying to make it sound as if it's an institution. It's not an institution. It's a generational problem. Right. These people are actually trying to hold on to something that their grandfather gave them, which was the house of Visitation Valley and a job.
Yep.
Like, so it's crazy to me that people think that being a cop is actually a job. It's an occupation. It's more than that. I can't even think of a word to describe what most cops are. Most cops are second and third generation cops. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say what exactly you call that. You call it the police state, but there's also a form of nepotism, mm-hmm. and this weird militarized aristocracy, right? This thing that's being held in place, by the same people, generation after generation after generation. Yeah. So there's no way you can fire that away, and there's no way you can reform that away. I don't know what the answer is, but it's definitely not thinking that these people actually have jobs. They have something that is more intrinsic than a job.
Yeah, it's a totally entrenched system, and you're right, especially bringing up the military. Same thing in the military. Yeah. Military families, if the generations continue on, those guys tell it's a legacy model.
It's a legacy model. Exactly. It's a legacy model.
Yeah.
It's the use and abuse of state power, like the billionaires are using and abusing their money power, right? Yep. You inherited that money. These guys inherited that authority. Yep. You know what I mean? And so like that's the part that like people need to, like, there's no way you can really separate this nepotism and family vibe from cops.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not only just that inherited power, that entitlement that comes with it, but you're right too, especially bringing up the distance in the residences. So I used to work in Novato, and Novato had probably a higher San Francisco police officer population than San Francisco did. Yeah. Because that was as far away as cops could move and still be a San Francisco cop.
Right. And there was a time when they were trying to get an ordinance, and I hope somebody revisits this, that you have to live in the community that you patrol. Yep. I mean, like that would make things so much easier. I mean, I won't say that I know some cool cops. I don't think any cops are actually cool. But I will say that the guys that I have seen that have been the least invasive, the least antagonistic, right? The least occupying, the least not giving the sense of occupation. These guys have always been beat cops who live near or in the neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. Right. I would see that beat cop. I'm in the mission. I see that beat cop, he'd be on the street. Then on the weekend, he'd come into the bookstore. Or on the weekend, I'd catch him in a cafe someplace, right? So, like, the thing was, he's a cop, but he's still kind of like, oh, there's that cop. But at least, like, you knew that he was involved with the community in such a kind of way where he's going to understand the people and not just roll in there with his bullshit. Like, and I think that happens a lot if you live in Visitation Valley and you're patrolling, like, say, the Haight, or you're patrolling the Fillmore,
Yeah, exactly. And especially, I mean, that's community policing does work.
Yes.
That takes feet on the ground, and that takes accountability of the cop has to be held accountable in the community too. Exactly. Has to be seen as a member. I mean, honestly, if it was just that, where it's just like cops walking around kind of just making sure shit isn't getting crazy, like, I wouldn't mind that. But what you have is this total top-down impression. Right. They all just drive around their patrol cars, cutting themselves off of the community, seeming way more militarized, more like a patrol rather than like somebody just going through making sure things are safe. The worst part too, and I mean, but this is a whole other thing, is that they speed everywhere too. Cops are very dangerous drivers. And never running into that.
These guys, they have the nerve, man. I mean, I'm sure everybody has seen this. The light's about to turn red. The cop turns on the siren and the lights. Woo!
Yep.
Runs the light and then slows right back down the speed limit like he just did it to cross the light.
Yep.
Like that is nothing to me poetically describes police officers better than that. I'm gonna break the law real quick, okay? But I'm gonna turn on this light, this siren real quick. But I'm gonna break the law. Woo! Okay, done. You know that.
I don't want to wait in traffic.
Yeah,
that's for the plebes.
That's for the poors.
Totally. That's how they see it. It's fucking real, man. It's so real.
It's so.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so we got to keep it moving.
Yeah, I know we got to keep it going because also too we want to talk about the fact that the other report that Preston had published and I'm putting up right now is the fact that social housing can work in San Francisco, which is, I mean, this is truly, if we want to fix our homeless issues, we have to look into social housing, public housing.
Yes, we do.
Everyone wants to put UMB is such a powerful force, and they want to push this idea that the market can handle anything, and we are not seeing that. We are seeing tons of real estate speculation, lots of investment in building and stuff, and we're still seeing a massive homeless population. And the worst part is that it's the majority are our senior citizens.
Yes.
People that really can't work anymore, that need support. And they try to push that they're like Europe. They're saying these are like, this is building more works in Europe, right? And it's not. It works because there's social housing for senior citizens. Senior citizens are taken care of.
But
go on.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. I mean,
yeah.
To me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, like, how are you going to? You call it? You don't need affordable housing. You need housing.
Yeah.
Right. Like you don't need affordable housing. Okay. Because like the wealth inequality, what are you saying? There are people who are unable to work. And you're saying that these people who are unable to work should not be sheltered.
Yep.
Right. So that's like, to me, I mean, it's a stupid argument. I mean, and also, I mean, I have to say this is one of those democratic things. Like anyone who's willing to work should be able to have a shelter and food. Like, no, you don't have to be able to work to be able to get shelter and food. It's not a communist concept. America did this until the 1980s. This was a function that the country used to do that we don't do anymore. So if it could have been done then, it can be done now. We have more money and more resources and more technology now than we did then, and they managed it. They managed to give us public housing. I think it's a stupid argument. I mean, like, it's an argument that Americans make because we think everything needs to turn a profit, but not everything does. Not everything does.
I know. I mean, I rarely see free market solutions solve anything.
Nothing.
And this is definitely one. And we are seeing how terrible this stuff can be,
Yes.
I mean, it's truly our most vulnerable population is victimized by these, supposed solutions. And we're just going to see it more and more unless we do something like this. And the thing is, too, is also another great idea is in this report that Preston put out about San Francisco starting a public bank, which would be so great. Let's get a public competition with our banks because they're too powerful. They need somebody to keep them in check.
Yeah. Also, though, I mean, like we're considering what Musk is planning to do and what Trump is planning to do. I wouldn't be surprised if it was another bank run over these next 48 years. So, I mean, like we really need to start thinking about what we're going to do when the corporate bank structure is starting to be threatened by crypto and Bitcoin and all of that.
Oh my God, I know. It's so insane. They're trying to shut down the government and they're not even in the government.
Not yet. And they're trying to get rid of the FDIC.
Yeah.
And if you do that, well, two things. Bank robberies will come back. Okay, you guys, like, you're going to bring back bank robberies. Okay, that's going to happen. It's going to be Brinks trucks. It's not going to be your Citibank. It's going to be Brinks trucks.
Yep.
None of the money's insured. None of the money's insured.
Yep.
Right.
So much more violence.
Yes, so much more violence. Like what they're doing is they're opening up the way for. I mean, like, I wrote about this just recently. People forget that the golden age of piracy began because of conditions like this. The French Revolution began because of conditions like this.
Yes.
right? Like
the equality is so bad.
Yeah, and also the power grab that comes with it. So it was what happened in the golden age of piracy was these guys were privateers. They were being paid by these countries to go and fight these other countries that we're trying to conquer, right? Then they get abandoned by the countries as they become nation states, and they start trying to concentrate their wealth and power to become nation states. And these guys become fucking pirates and start robbing the shit out of you.
Yes, yeah.
Like the very people you hired to do the dirty work, they started doing the dirty work against you.
Yep.
And if you think that's not going to happen again, all these guys you got here doing your dirty work, try that.
Yep.
Try that.
Yeah, privateers. Not only, the start of, piracy and honestly, that was the whole deal. You guys, if you raid these Spanish ships, you get to keep everything,
Yeah.
Okay, sure. But then what happens when the war is over? Well, this is all we know. But on top of that, what else started from these privateers? Slavery.
Yeah.
Honestly, the first slavers were the guys that were going and basically, to Jamaica, those kind of places. And
actually, that's not true.
Oh, it's not Jamaica? I swear it was. I know it's the Caribbean, though, right? Bermuda?
No. The pirates didn't do slavery.
Oh, well, no. Privateers,
England and Denmark. England and Denmark. It was England and Denmark. Like, it wasn't these guys. It was England and Denmark, right? Spain didn't even want to get involved with slavery.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was England and Denmark. They were getting paid by these countries to do that. It wasn't, and I'm a nautical lore is one of my shits.
Okay.
I don't tell anybody about how much I love nautical lore. I love nautical lore. I've read so much, and the reason being because I'm seasick. I can't ride a boat.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I can't ride a boat, so I've always been fascinated with nautical lore. So, but the thing what I'm talking about is when the privateers got betrayed by the nation states.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like right now, what Elon Musk and Trump and all these guys are doing, and Vance and all these guys are doing is they got henchmen, and those henchmen we don't see them, but they're out there. Right. Yeah. And what I'm saying is if you guys continue to try to concentrate your wealth and power and you try to push those guys out, they will betray you.
Yeah. Was it Kid? Who was the guy? Yeah, that was literally a privateer. And then basically he's tried to start robbing French ships. But then this was after they made a deal. And then it was kind of like, no, you actually just robbed an English ship.
Yeah.
And you're in trouble. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They flipped the script. They flipped the script on these guys, right?
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, these guys just say, okay, fuck it, we're going to rob all of you.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, like history has some things in there for us. All right, let's keep it moving.
It's not hard to see the cops doing such a thing, No,
exactly. Exactly.
So let's get into what's going on in Oakland.
Yeah.
Especially we have not only we have like a huge drop in homicides. I mean, a 5-year low.
That's
Crime
right.
was down, even though, again, media is trying to create this narrative that it is unsafe in Oakland. It's terrible for Oakland.
Yeah.
Like people walking down the street they should have guns, or it's so like businesses are closing because of all the crime, and it's like, no, crime is at a historic low in the area.
And what kills me right here is this graphic of an effigy.
Yeah,
the graphic of an effigy when crime is actually falling. Yeah, so like it's a visual refutation of what the article is saying, right? Yeah. Here's a scene of what probably was a murder, right?
Yeah,
but crime has gone down. Somebody's lying. My guess would be the Chronicle, because that picture right there is saying the exact opposite of what the headline is saying.
Yeah. Well, but then newspapers have notoriously been terrible when it comes to reporting homicides and violent crime in minority communities. I mean, that was the whole thing about remember the Oakland Tribune used to do the homicide map?
Yeah.
Where they map out like in Oakland where all the homicides were, and the worst part is that they used everyone's mugshots,
right?
And so the last things these families who lost family members, let's be clear, just because they had a mugshot does not mean they were not a victim of a crime, a victim of murder. And the last thing that's being published about these victims is, something horrible, like terrible moment in their lives.
But and I also have to say that, like, it was Xingtao bringing back the ceasefire program.
Yes.
That is, and like, and just this weekend they're going to be doing another gun buyback. So I mean, that was working.
Yes.
That she was working.
Yes.
And so the thing is like now, I mean, the Chronicles decided they're going to go ahead and tell the truth, but the crime has been dropping. So now it's to the point where you can't say it's not dropping because it's a 5-year low now, right? Now it's just 5-year low. But they lied and lied and lied and got rid of the person, 2 people got rid of the 2 people who were actually trying to keep the community safe.
Yep.
And for what? I mean, I still don't understand the outcome of these recalls. I still don't understand what they thought they were going to be able to achieve with that.
Well, it's just that getting the people they want in power. I think a big part of why Tao was singled out and was recalled, I think, because she would have said no to coal imports.
Right.
In Oakland, at the port of Oakland. I think she really did listen to the community when it came to that. And I think that's why, because I think that was Philip Dreyfus, who is the main funder of her recall, that's his investment.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. It's like, now you got Bass, and Bass is going to say no too. And I know we're going to talk about this later, but there is another potential candidate who would also say no.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't, like I said, but you might have been better off just leaving shit alone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, I mean, honestly, though, it's so crazy because you still have people like the Oakland Report, Gardner pushing for more police. But honestly, they're going to have to make these cuts. That Bass is taking over and she's going to start pushing for cuts so the city can meet its budget needs. And guess what? The police are in the target. And, they did that to themselves, delaying the Coliseum sale.
They defunded themselves.
Yep.
Right. Like all you had to do is just act reasonable about this. Right. But you continue to have OPOA and Sam Singer push the cops have been defunded. They've never been defunded, but you insisted on pushing that. Right. So we had to increase your budget, sign off on your overtime. Yeah. And now the city has to defund you.
Yeah.
Right. But now you must be defunded. Now the cops are getting defunded. The cops defunded themselves. I personally love the irony of that shit.
Well, it is great.
It's great.
It's really great. I mean, yeah. I wish they didn't have to cut fire departments too, but then I really don't know much about fire department budgets and how inflated they are,
Right.
But like the police, everyone knows, especially when compared to the clearance rate. And their overtime payments. I mean, how they can literally double their pay with overtime, and like when and trust me, I've been on ride-alongs. A lot of what cops do is just kind of driving around, hanging out, or you'll see them all the time, parked in a parking lot, just hanging out, 2 cars sitting there shooting the shit. Or even worse is like they'll all respond to a report, and then you'll see one guy writing the report, and then another 5 to 10 of them just hanging out shooting the shit. It's so dumb.
Well, I mean, Omar Asin over at the Oakland Observer, he's been saying this for quite a while. I kind of suspected this, but he's got the hard data on it. By looking at the police academies, nobody wants to be cops anymore. So that means it's like I say, if it weren't for this generational pipeline, right, we had even fewer cops.
Yep.
Because it's really hard to get new recruits. People really aren't interested in the occupation anymore. They understand that the occupation has a set of stigmas, a set of stresses, and people just don't want to do it. So I mean, I don't know what the end game is going to be, because ultimately what's happening is they're putting themselves out of business.
Yes.
And so, I mean, and that's the reason why they're having to do all this overtime. It is partly greed, but it's also they have an extreme understaffing problem.
Yes. And what's also pointed out in the book, the writers come out at night, it's the culture. The culture is a huge turnoff for people. Mm-hmm. People don't want to be these asshole cops that, use acronyms like TNS and, are basically, they're all kind of racist, but not really that open about it, you know, and like truly go and, just think it's right to hurt people. And it's fine to plant something, a gun or drugs on somebody just to get that collar. It's people are sick of it, and
also,
good.
and good, because also, I mean, apparently what the occupation does is also like distressing. You can take that shit at home and you become a domestic abuser. 40% of the cops are.
Yes.
And then of course the Celeste Guap situation. Do we think that that's an isolated incident? Of course not.
No.
But of course not. So, and that comes with the occupation, whatever the occupation, but the occupation itself is poisonous to the spirit in some kind of way.
Yes.
Like,
now, I mean, literally, look what happened with that cop in Kansas City who seriously was facing a trial over the fact that it was documented that he was sexually assaulting black women and forcing them into prostitution.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, he offed himself
probably
because he knew it was all going down. But that's when you give evil people power, and these jobs attract evil people. Look at the writers, you know?
Well, I mean, also, like, that's my point, though. It's like, I think that, like, if you are part of that generational thing, it's something you've come to accept as a perk of the job.
Yeah.
Right. But, like, if you are new to it, like, you have to go through some kind of transformation. You know what I mean? Like, you have to change in some kind of way to fit in. And the way that seems to reflect is you become like really an amoral asshole, you know? Yeah, totally. I mean, like, I don't know exactly how to better explain that, but if you want to fit in, like, you know, it's kind of like we both play sports. Like, you know how that locker room can transform.
Oh, you. Yeah.
You know, like the locker room can transform you, right? It can bring out the better in you, make you a hero, or it can bring out the worst in you and make you a villain. You know, but that locker room can do that. And all it takes is for a coach to tell you which direction you need to go.
Yeah, that's why they talk about locker room culture.
Yeah.
There's police locker room culture.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, people, I used to work for a website that was truly catered towards the police. Like, it was their special police. And that discussion board was one of the most toxic places I've ever seen. Yeah. I mean, believe it. All right. So we got to start wrapping up. I do want to point out some good news we've seen, though. First off is it looks like a lot of people want to have Barbara Lee become mayor of Oakland. Yeah. And I think that would be pretty awesome because I think she still speaks for me. That's for sure.
She does. Barbara Lee still speaks for me. She does.
And it'll be so great too, especially what people have pointed out too, as you can see this below, that Lauren Taylor, the guy, you know, with Empower Oakland and who's tried to be mayor before. I mean, these are supporters of his that are actually supporting Lee over him.
Well, of course. Of course. And also there are a couple of enemies too, though, like Gibson and Mulcahy. Like she and Taylor were not really all that tight. But but I mean, but the thing is, though, is it does make sense because Lee is stepping down. She stepped down today, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
And she's a more than competent politician. She's always represented the East Bay. She's always represented Oakland, even when she was representing the state. It makes sense to me. And it would be good news if she ran. I'd vote for her. I wouldn't even think twice.
Yeah, I would support her all the way. I'd even send money. I mean, that'd be a big deal. I mean, hopefully she doesn't turn out to be like Dellums. I don't remember Dellums, you know, tenure being that great. But yeah, I mean, I have a feeling she would be much better.
Better than Schaff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that for sure.
Yeah, so, if you do better than Schaff, you're okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. All right, and then the I gotta leave on a high point. Got to love it. Seneca Scot getting a restraining order because he keeps harassing a gay mayoral staffer, Brandon Harami. Yes. I mean, God, I recently had an interaction with him. He called me a soggy. He called me out to a fight, and then before I could respond, he blocked me. So.
Well, I mean, like, okay, let's be honest about what's going on with this guy right now.
Yeah, let's do it. I want to hear it.
All right, I know we're running short on time, so I'll be quick. This guy said he organized these recalls, right? He said he had a grassroots movement, and that grassroots movement was the thing that was doing the recalls. Now, most of us knew better, right? Because we did know that the signature gatherers were being paid an exorbitant amount of money. In fact, that's how I first started interacting with the guys. I started pointing out who is paying like sometimes 7 times as much per signature. Like, who's doing that? right? And so dude started interacting with me. But the whole thing is like what he was really upset about was the fact that I was pointing out that he didn't have a grassroots movement. Like what you had paid signature gatherers. Who's paying them? Are you paying them? Right? Of course he's not paying us. Who it was. And so once we found out it was Dreyfus, but it took forever. Right? So in other words, you didn't organize anything. Dreyfus got in touch with a signature gathering company. The signature gathering company sent their people in from Seattle. Some people came in even as far as Boston because the money was so good, right? But they were not your followers. You were not even the employer. Yeah. You were the manager of a retail venture. It wasn't even political. You were the manager of a retail venture.
I know. And he was so bad. I mean, so bad. I mean, truly, he tried to be a figurehead, and it's clear why, but it was so bad that he couldn't file the paperwork properly. And then when he did do press conferences, no one came. Right. His press conferences were so poorly attended that people could walk by and threaten him.
Well, no, the thing I think is really important though is that you have to remember this guy was actually sent in probably by an organization like the Heritage Foundation or the Manhattan Institute. Yeah. They recruited this guy from Cornell years ago to come and be Oakland's de facto black leader. Like that's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to represent the black community in Oakland. And of course that's not true. But and that's the reason why he is where he is now, right? The recalls have happened. Dreyfus has nothing else to do with him. He doesn't need him anymore, right? He tried to run Jen Tran's candidacy, right? She got served. She got kicked to the curb, right? Yeah. So whoever hired him for that, they don't need him anymore either. Schellenberger and David Sachs and Gary Tan, they all were looking to him to try to help them take over Oakland. But now they have the White House. They don't need him either.
Nope.
Right? So that's the reason why he's starting to harass Brandon. It's the reason why he's starting to seem a little bit unhinged, right? Because the thing is, he is actually clearly being abandoned by his masters. Mm-hmm. His masters have used him and they're spitting him out. And so what we're seeing on the internet right now is we're seeing him trying to turn this apparatus into something else, because the people who were actually giving him all this money, they're not giving it to him anymore. They got everything they wanted out of him. They got the recalls, right? Schellenberger and David Sachs and those guys got a chance to absolve their clearly white supremacist intentions through him, right? So that's all done. So the thing is, you got chewed up and spat out.
Yep.
And so we're getting a chance to watch this guy spiral out of control in real time. And for Brandon to actually like take the initiative after the guy doxed him. And let's be honest, he gave his phone number, his email, and his address. He put all of that on Twitter to have this man harassed. Okay, that is going to stick. That is a restraining order that's going to stick. And they're going to come and they're going to take your guns, man.
Yeah, and I mean,
take your guns.
Truly, and like, I mean, the shit that Brandon got called. I mean, they're calling him a pedo and stuff like that, and talking about. I mean, look at that wood chipper, slow feed. You know, like, I mean, they're talking about killing him. They're talking about threatening him. You know,
and it's so crazy.
And Seneca Scot would never do that in person. Let's be clear.
Well, I personally think that, like, you know, I mean, he's got all of these guys, honestly. I had an interaction with one of his friends, and he did the same thing. He went to have a fist fight with me, and I was like, "Dude, like, I'm not 15.
Yeah,
like, do you really think I'm gonna meet you in the schoolyard and fight you?"
I know it's so, and also the soggy thing too.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just like, no, it's just like you guys are actually, like, you know, you're not mature enough to actually be on the stage. And so what they did was, like, and Twitter helped with this a lot, is that they made dialogue more immature so they could become a part of the dialogue. But ultimately, like, no, I'm not going to meet you in the fucking playground and get into a squabble with you. I'm a grown ass man. I have kids and shit. You know what I mean? I mean, like, shit. Like, hey, look, if we were in our teens, that shit might happen, bro. That shit might happen. Like, oh yeah, okay, well, yeah, I'll meet you at 3:00, motherfucker. 3:00. But I mean, to even think that is something that an adult would even entertain.
Yeah,
it shows a certain kind of, like, disconnect from like reality. I mean, just reality.
Yeah,
you know?
It seems like he's trying to kind of appeal to those like alpha males on the right, the guys that are like, oh, you're a beta and I'm an alpha, you're a cuck, and like it's all about strength and like this Western ideal that they can dominate and do whatever they want because of Western values. And it's they're not coming to help you, Seneca.
Not just that, but you can say that shit just about any place in America, but Oakland, New York, Atlanta, LA, like that. Go ahead. Why don't you take your alpha male ass on down there? Go ahead, just take your alpha male ass. Go to South Central with your alpha male ass. Go.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping you. Nobody's stopping you.
I need to find that video again of when he got called out at a press conference and they all came after him and he ran. He wasn't swinging. He was just like, dodging.
I've actually seen interactions with him with some real ones. And I mean, like, and when that does happen, I mean, it's not like I feel bad for him. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, dude, like you're actually in a situation of danger right now.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Like you're talking to a real one. Like, do you not realize that? And then so he goes, yo, let's fight. And the guy goes, where? When?
Yeah.
I've actually seen interactions where the guy is actually on his way to where Seneca Scot said he was going to be. and he gets there and he's like, where are you, man? Yeah. Where are you? I'm like, dude, see, don't fuck with the real ones. There's the reason why we don't do that, bro. I don't think I can beat everybody up.
It's like the repeat of Meet Me in Temecula, right? Like, dudes will come an hour. They will drive an hour to meet you, man. If they,
I mean, like really, like this is Oakland, man. And like, I know some cats who are like those kind of cats, and I would never, ever anonymously, without knowing who the fuck I'm talking to, try to talk to those guys like that. I would never. Look, I know my limitations. I would never.
Exactly.
I don't have it in me. I'm not built like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm running. I'm hiding.
Yeah, no, this dude actually said, like, I'll catch another case behind you. Another case?
Yeah.
I am so sorry, sir. I never should have said anything to you. Forgive me. I was being impetuous. I'm gonna let myself out now. Okay, thank you, sir.
Sorry, sir.
I'm so sorry, sir.
Awesome.
I will catch another case behind you. Oh shit. Sorry.
Oh man. Oh great, Scott, it's always great to meet up and share some laughs and everything else, even when it's about such crazy shit going on in our city and our world. But
on the closure, I also want to say that I think it was really important for us to do this because things are moving at such a fast and rapid pace that it's important that we keep our eye on the minutia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like we talk about things and then like later on down the line, it becomes illuminated through some larger event. You know what I mean? So keeping track on the little things really helps us to understand when that big thing happens. We can start putting those pieces together.
Exactly. Great point. And we'll probably do more of these in the future.
Absolutely.
But now we both got stuff to do, so we're gonna jet. So to all you wonderful Doom Loopers out there, we'll see you next week. And until then, keep fighting the good fight.